Bambi is the most useful summon in Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. He's often overlooked. And that's it. Comparatively, Simba is useful for clearing Heartless. Genie and Mushu are useful if you're abusing damage storage. Dumbo is useful for skipping sections and speedruns. Tinkerbell is useful if you need consistent healing and an extra life. But Bambi? Bambi gives us near infinite MP, tons of items, and even helps us get the Ultima Weapon. Hey cool people, I'm Nick, I'm a he/him, and I want you to stop sleeping on Bambi. His mom did that enough in the movie.
She was what?
So this is an addendum to my item hunt synthesis guide. I too was sleeping on Bambi at the time, so the sleeping is about to stop. But I'm older now, wiser, smarter, wiser. I don't have a segue. Strike the like button, and let's get this show on the road. Bambi is a relatively simple summon. If we fill up his blue charge bar, aka beat 6 enemies, Bambi gives us a reward. And there's 3 tiers to his charges, each tier giving us better rewards than the last. And then, once we defeat 18 enemies, all following charges will repeat tier 3 rewards. 24 enemies beaten, tier 3 rewards. 30 enemies beaten, tier 3 rewards. 36 enemies beat, you get it. So, why is that good? How is that helpful? Because at tiers 2 and 3, Bambi drops synthesis materials, literally shards and gems. Let me give you this scenario. In my synthesis guide, I said to go to Atlantica and beat the sea neons and sheltering zones to get frost gems. Terrible advice. Honestly, just the worst. But what if I told you, insert Morpheus meme here, we could get frost gems from a tier 3 Bambi charge while fighting in Wonderland? And what if I added on that rooms like the floor of the Bazaar Room, its ceiling, and the Lotus Forest can give us up to 5 or 6 charges? At a 40, 60, 30% drop rate according to KH guides, Lucky Strike not accounted for, I think that's a pretty good deal. And I'll do whatever it takes to or void Atlantica. Okay, so now that we understand the how and the why of Bambi, let's talk about the what and the where. So we're gonna go in world order, and I'll show you what relevant rooms elicit what tier of charge, and what items are dropped from them, and note that Bambi's drops are gonna be the same before and after rescue. Starting with the brown town that's downtown, Traverse Town. Bambi drops blaze materials here. His tier 1 charge is a potion at 100%, his tier 2 charge is an ether at 100%, and a blaze shard at 40%, and his tier 3 is a high potion at 100%, a blaze shard at 60%, and a blaze gem at 30%. As for the rooms, I'll say before rescue and then after rescue, or before and after Sora Seppuku if you prefer. So, before Sudoku, in the alleyway we'll achieve 3 charges. Red room and green room relinquish 0 charges, in the hotel hall we'll get 2 charges, second district's lower half can get us 4 charges, while in the gizmo shop and the second district's rooftops we'll collect 3 charges. Third district from the rooftop entrance we can get 7 charges, and lastly, the third district from either lower entrance will yield 6 charges. After the big stab, alleyway drops to 2 charges. Red room and green rooms stay at 0 charges. Hotel hall drops to 1 charge. Second district's lower half and gizmo shop go up to 5 charges. Second district's rooftops stay at 3 charges. Third district from the rooftop entrance drops way down to 3 charges. And third district from either lower entrance is now only 2 charges. Here's what it looks like in best to worst room order. So, if you want to farm blaze shards and gems in Traverse Town, I recommend doing it before the rescue with this route. But if you're already after rescue, you can do the same loop, just remove alleyway. Onto the checkerboard scene with the crazy ass queen, Wonderland. That won't be a consistent thing, don't worry. So the items and percentages all stay the same between worlds, but in Wonderland specifically, Bambi has switched from Hot Cha Cha materials to Ice Ice Baby materials. Tier 2 is a Frost Shard at 40% now, and Tier 3 is a Frost Shard at 60% and a Frost Gem at 30% instead of the blazes. You get it. For the rooms, before Sora gives us his 13 reason, Bazaar Room Floor holds 6 charges. Bazaar Room Floor with Giga Shadows can only yield 4 charges and only from the 3 waves of small shadows. The Giga Shadows, conversely, do not boost Bambi's charge, so don't bother with them, unless you need their stones. Bazaar Room Ceiling and Lotus Forest relinquish 5 charges respectively. Bazaar Room Painting Wall nets us 4 charges. And the Bazaar Room Chimney Wall, as well as Rabbit's Hole, give us 2 charges. After Sora Yoshimitsu's himself, you really gotta know Tekken for that joke, the Bazaar Room Floor slips a bit to 5 charges. The Bazaar Room Floor with Giga Shadows is the same, 4 charges. Lotus Forest becomes the new 6 charges. The Bazaar Room Ceiling falls down to 3 charges. The Bazaar Room Painting Wall also slides down to 3 charges, while Bazaar Room Chimney Wall and Rabbit Hole stay at 2 charges. So my recommendation is farming before rescue because there's a much cleaner loop. But if you're already after rescue, turning on Encounter Plus and running between the Bazaar Room Floor and Lotus Forest, I think would work well. Next up, my big fat Greek tournament, Olympus Coliseum, is not on the list. We can't use summons here. Deep Jungle. Here, the undersized Ungolot drops Thunder materials, Thunder Shards at 40% on Tier 2, and Thunder Shards at 60% with Thunder Gems at 30% on Tier 3. Before rescue, no suicide joke this time, I'm gonna leave those jokes like how they left Clayton hanging. I got 2 charges in climbing trees, but this is a room where we can potentially get more because the enemies do spawn indefinitely. Treehouse gives the most at 7 charges, potentially. However, this is dependent on how many cheers and how much MP we have, so more likely it'll be 4 charges than 3 charges. And Cliff and Bamboo Thicket give 2 charges. Lastly, Camp gives 3 charges. As for after rescue, Climbing Trees said, "What do me and your bank account have in common? We're both empty." In Treehouse, I was able to get 4 charges at 17 MP with 3 cheers. However, it is possible to get a total of 5 charges, though we'll likely get 4 then 1, which is decidedly less than 7. Bamboo Thicket and Cliff go up to 3 charges, while Camp stays at 3 charges. So route-wise, both before and after rescue are kind of equally ass-butt. So before rescue, I'd say looping from the tunnel to the treehouse while ignoring the enemies and climbing trees. Unless, of course, you can get 3 charges off in the climbing trees, then go nuts. As for the after rescue route, however, I'd say add Cliff, Bamboo Thicket, and Camp while only going for 4 charges in the treehouse, unless you can climb that ladder in time for 5. Next up is Agrabah. Dingus Deer drops Bright Shards at Tier 2, and then Bright Shards and Bright Gems at Tier 3. So before rescue, the Cave of Wonders Hall gives us the most at only 4 charges, then Desert Cave or Cave of Wonders Head or Getting Head in the Cave, but not like that, will get 3 charges. Same in the Bazaar and Lamp Chamber. Now the Plaza, Main Street, Alley, Palace Gates, Cave Entrance, Bottomless Hall, and Treasure Room only get us off twice. Again, not sexual. After Kyrie, Resurrection F, Hall now drops to 2 charges, Desert Cave drops far to 1 charge, Bazaar stays at 3 charges, while Lamp Chamber and Plaza go up to 3 charges, Main Street jumps way up to 4 charges, Alley and the Palace Gates stay at 2 charges, Cave Entrance is just 1 charge now, Bottomless Hall stays at 2 charges, and Treasure Room has erected to 3 charges. Get your mind out of the gutter. Route-wise, before rescue we can run this route, but after rescue I'd say stay in Agrabah proper. Next up is the monster-sized whale that's eating your sail boat, Monstro, which drops lucid materials. It's the same, it's always the same, just with a different material, you get it. Okay, now quick note about Monstro, there's several hidden enemies that only appear when we jump high into the air. So if you're getting less charges than I'm listing, try jumping really high, like really high. Before Kyrie's alive again. Monstro's throat contains 5 charges, but be sure to fall down the center for extra green Requiem spawns. Stomach only culminates in 2 charges, but also 0 if we encounter the Grand Ghost. In Chamber 1 we can complete 4 charges, and in Chamber 2 and 3 we can collect 4 charges. Chamber 5 actually has 8 charges, but we're more likely to compile 3 than 2. Chamber 6 has 7 charges, but again, it's more likely to be split up. And the bowels have 5 potential charges. After Kyrie's OO, living on a prayer, Monstro can be a little different depending on the spawns that show up when we land there. What That Throat Do stays at 5 charges, Stomach becomes 1 charge, Chamber 1 and 2 drop to 3 charges, Chamber 3 jumps up to 6 charges, Chamber 5 is still at 8 potential charges, but at 17 MP with 3 charges, it still had to be split up. Chamber 6 is still at 7 charges, which I did manage to do in one go through, and Bowels drops to 4 charges. Route-wise, I think it's actually better after rescue for 2 reasons. Reason 1, the different spawns in Monstro can yield different types of synthesis materials. Not from Bambi, just in general. And reason 2, since most rooms have the same charge count as before rescue, we may have an easier time, especially with max MP and 3 charges. So here's the route I suggest. Atlantica. Halloween Town. Bambi drops power materials here. Before rescue rooms are Graveyard at 1 charge, Moonlit Hill and Bridge with 5 charges, and Manor Ruins at 6 charges, though the latter 3 rooms will probably be split up. After Kyrie Lives Free or Dies Hard, Graveyard leaps up to 5 charges, Moonlit Hill and Bridge stay at 5 charges, and Manor Ruins goes up to 7 charges. So, the clear time to do this is after rescue, both because Graveyard has so many more spawns, and because we're likely to get them all in one summon of Bambi instead of multiple, and the route is just loop the world. Next up, Neverland, which drops spirit materials. And is a fucking nightmare. Just as a forewarning, flying can sometimes despawn Bambi. What the fuck? Also, the rooms are weird. So, Ship Hold is technically 4 different rooms. There's the save point room, the open area, the Yellow Trinity room, and the one with the hole in the floor. But they're all called Ship Hold. How incredibly helpful. So I'll just notate them based on their characteristics. Before rescue, Ship Hold and Yellow Trinity room both have 1 charge. Ship Hold with Floor Hole has 0 charges. Ship Freezer has 4 charges. Ship Galley has 0 charges. Ship Cabin is actually just like the Hold, but thankfully the only spawns are in the hallway, so the Ship Cabin Hallway, Captain's Cabin, and Pirate Ship, which is the deck, all only have 1 charge. As for after rescue, Ship Hold goes up to 2 charges, Yellow Trinity room drops to 0 charges. Ship Hold with the Floor Hole still has 0 charges, Ship Freezer stays at 4 charges, Ship Galley has been upgraded to 1 whole charge. Amazing! Ship Cabin Hallway stays at 1 charge, Captain's Cabin has got a substantial upgrade of 3 charges, and Pirate Ship goes up to a whole 2 charges. And if Bambi falls in the water, he dismisses himself. How fun! Wow, this world is a nightmare place for routes. I guess if you really want to, definitely do it after rescue, and just use Encounter Plus on the freezer. Hollow Bastion, like Halloween Town, also drops Lucid materials, but the childish Servine drops Lucid Gems at 40% for Tier 2, then Lucid Gems at 60%, and Lucid Crystals at 30% for Tier 3. So before rescue, Castle Gate's lower half has 2 charges, Base Level has a 1 charge, but only if we start from a higher portion, Entrance Hall has 4 potential charges if we start from the upstairs, Lift Stop A has 0 charges, Lift Stop A is the area between Castle Gate's upper portion and the Entrance Hall, Lift Stop B, which we take an elevator down from Lift Stop A, has 0 charges. Waterway, if we access it from Lift Stop B, has 2 charges, whereas Dungeon, Castle Gate's upper portion, and the Great Crest Arena all have 0 charges. And no, mixing Castle Gate upper and lower didn't push it up to 3 charges. We're more fucked than a 2-legged horse on a trip to the glue factory. Hightower has 5 charges if we start from the upper portion. Lift Stop C, which is the one with the ceiling missing, has 1 charge in each half, upper and lower. Lift Stop D, aka the lift stop between Castle Chapel and the Grand Hall, has 0 charges. In the last room, Grand Hall isn't accessible for farming before we rescue Kyrie, because this is when we would do that. So this room has 0 charges and a boss fight. After we give Dark Riku the old slap and tap, Castle Gates has 4 charges if we merge the upper and lower portions together. Base level still only has 1 charge. Entrance Hall has 7 charges if we start from the top, though we'll likely have to split it up, even at max MP with 3 cheers. Entrance Hall with Stealth Soldier, on the other hand, only has 4 charges. but I wouldn't waste time with the stealth soldiers. Best to reset to the base room unless you need its Kenergy stones. Lift Stop A and B still have 0 charges. Waterway from Lift Stop B stayed at 2 charges. Dungeon and Great Crest Arena stayed at 0 charges as well. High Tower bumped up to 6 charges, nice, but like before, we'd still have to start from an upper portion. Lift Stop C yields 2 charges now, but again, we have to come from the top half. Lift Stop D is 0 charges, again, and Grand Hall now grants us 5 charges. Grand Hall with Stealth Soldier gives us 3, maybe 4 charges.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
I think Stealth Soldiers count, in which case beating all of them gives 4 charges, but like the entrance hall, better to just use the base room if you don't need their stones. As for the routes, I wouldn't go for this seriously until after Rescue, where we have more spawns in general, but I think this is a good route for our purposes. And finally, End of the World. Now, there is no before Rescue for this world, so everything here is after Rescue. Also, get this, I don't recommend bothering to use Bambi here, like at all. He drops mithril materials, and we'll get more than enough of those from chests and the like. Shameless self-plug. Now, these are all counts for after our first run through, so if you've just landed there, your results may vary. Final Dimension has 0 charges. Giant Crevasse gives us 1 charge, yes, enemies spawn here, but only in the weird net areas. I don't know what that's about. Next is the World Termini. Terminuses. And in Traverse Town, Wonderland, Olympus Coliseum, Deep Jungle, and Agrabah Terminosios, they give 2 charges. We can't summon in the Atlantica Turpentine, which also goes for the world and is why I skipped that section. And we'll get 2 charges from the Halloween Town Tortilla, and 1 charge from the Neverland Tetanus Shot. And then there's the last room, Linked Worlds, which only has 5 spawns, which means 0 charges. So overall, a pretty crummy world to run through. After the fact, at least. Route-wise, on an initial run, I'm pretty sure Final Dimension and Linked Worlds can breach 3 charges. I'll probably make a comment about it if I test it. Otherwise, if you just kind of run through the world, I'm sure it'll work out. But on subsequent run-throughs, you'll only get mithril shards, never enough charges for mithrils. So just run the Termussies, excluding Neverland and Atlantica. So at this point you might be asking,
Nick, that's all well and good, but how does it help me get the Ultima Weapon?
Firstly, it helps you get synthesis materials because you have to synthesize the first 30 things before it's even unlocked. And secondly, more specific to the weapon, you'll need 5 Thunder Gems for the recipe, and Bambi can drop them in Deep Jungle. And now you know why Bambi is the best summon in Kingdom Hearts 1 and Final Mix. I hope this makes your synthesis collection easier. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, it would really mean a lot. And I'll catch you next time. Goodbye!